John, why don't we see more team writing when it comes to film that we see in television?
I wish we would see it. The only place where we have that in film on a regular basis is in Pixar. And it just so happens, I don't think by coincidence, that the best scripts, day in, day out, year after year, come from Pixar. Best writing of any studio in Hollywood by far, not even close. Why? Because they use the technique that TV is based on, which is team writing instead of individual writing. Now, there's tremendous advantage to having an individual writer because you get the vision, unique voice of that person coming through the story. And you don't want to lose that. However, where you get this tremendous value that you get from team writing that we see in television is in terms of breaking the story. The requirement to get the story right in television is the be-all and the end-all. You do not get to go to script until everybody is satisfied, but of course especially the showrunner is satisfied that story is broken down into the beats and that those beats are sequenced properly. Because the perception that many writers have of screenplays is, I'll fix it in the rewrite. Well, on TV we've learned that isn't true. That doesn't happen. You don't fix it in the rewrite. If you have structured the story in a certain way with the cards, that's going to be embedded in the script. And then changing it is much more difficult when it's been written as a script than if you change it when it's simply a sequence of story beats. And this is the great thing that you learn when you write on a writing staff. So Pixar understands that. And they have writers working together and they make sure they're not going to go to animation until that story is great and that script is great. And so why don't other studios do it? It's because the way the economics of the system works. You can do that in animation when you have a company like Pixar that has been set up that way. But the way the normal Hollywood studio works is that each of these films is a freelance situation. Each has its writer, its director, its actors, and so on and so forth. And so they're unable to do this team writing concept. In a way, we have to go back to the golden age of Hollywood in the 30s and 40s when we had the studio system, and then you had a very similar type of situation where you had writers working for the studio. And they would get all the assignments, and you would have writers who had the kind of experience when they would write one of the great writers like Ben Hecht, who would have written 70+ films. Whereas now, with the freelance system in film, even the most experienced top writers, maybe they've got 5 films to their name. Produced films, maybe 10 if they're really good and they're really at the top. Whereas on TV, when you work on staff, you're generating these things at a tremendous pace, and if the show is successful, over 5+ seasons. So the amount of craft that you have, which you then apply to the next show that you write, just keeps getting higher and higher. And the great thing that you get with staff writing and that you get with television is when you write that TV episode, 4 weeks later, it's airing. And you get to see it. And you get to see, how did it work? Where did it fail? I remember when we would look at the episodes of Jump Street, some of them we would say, that's just a great script, that was a great episode, it was a great show. And some we would say, that's just one of the worst pieces of television we've ever done. But both of those were valuable because we get that feedback immediately. As a screenwriter, you write a script, maybe 3 years later it comes out as a film, probably not very much not very close to the way you wrote it. So what you can learn from that experience as a writer, much less.